Hey guys, and welcome back. So this is the result of the sim, and I managed to fix the collision. And I'm not so sure what is happening with Houdini, but it looks like this version of the DOP and the sourcing is not liking referencing channels from specific paths. So all I had to do was point the node to basically use first, second, third, and fourth, and then here I connected the inputs into the first and second, including the source. And that's all I had to do. And I think there's some issues here. I'm not so sure what the problem is. Anyway, this is the effect, and I think it's working quite well. I do think that the smoke itself is quite fast, and because we are using the temperature to move it along the x direction with that buoyancy node, the it's getting stronger and stronger because there's more smoke coming in, more velocity, more temperature being emitted um, over time. So it's getting faster and faster. But apart from that, I really like how everything is looking, and you can clearly see the motion is much more organic, much more natural, and it's not colliding with the geometry at all, which is very, very cool. All right, so this is the fix. I changed the first, second, and third input, and you can see the points are no longer affecting, are no longer inside the volume, and they are interacting nicely. The only thing I'd like to do is, you see they're sometimes accumulating over these edges, and the easiest way to break that up is to add a noise to the point position we're using to do a lookup, either on the gradient, on the gradient preferably, because this will change the direction or the position of the points, as well as the normal result. So I'm going to add a turbulent noise. I'm going to change it to a 3D noise, and let's increase the frequency to 2, 2, and 2, and lower the amount just a touch. And then if we hit play, we should see less of this accumulation, less of this stringiness effect. Let's increase the noise even more. And now, it's much, much better. Just to randomize the normals, but the amount and the amount is staying the same. Okay, so I took this same thing and I applied it here, and I connected the source to be on the first input. I also increased the number of points, so we're deleting less, so we have more points to work with. And then the collision is connected into the second input, and then this is the graph, same thing here, just no noise. And I added this thing, which I will explain next week, but basically I'm adding extra variation to how the points could move along the surface. But for now we can just use the one I showed. And then I cached it to disk and added the alpha, and this is how the points look like. You can see in the first frames, let me display the geometry as full, and you can see there's no collision, nothing is going inside the volume or the geometry anymore, and that's really what I was looking for. I can go inside now. It's all clean and ready to be rendered. And the last thing I want to show is a few more things related to the smoke sim, and I think I went over this quickly. But basically, we have a smoke sim, and then we apply all these turbulence or micro solvers, like the gas turbulence, very common, and then the gas dissipate. This is not something you would do all the time, but it's how you could use a temperature or any field to push the smoke in a specific direction. And the last effect I want to add is, right now we have the sim, that's it, only the particles. But if we wanted to have something similar with smoke, let's say before the particles happen, the surface starts to convert into smoke, so we see smoke being emitted slowly, and then this would come in. So we could have a smoke sim similar to this, not like this one. This one is continuous all the time, and so I want to have something that only appears where there's particles. Same way this is working. So I'm going to copy it, and the source for this one is not going to be this node here, which has all the points over time just being accumulated. I'm going to use the one that dynamically changes which is this one. Okay, so I'm going to copy this, all this graph here, and paste it here. And now I want to use the dynamic source. We could use all the points because they're going to give us better source. And I'm going to convert this into a VDB. It's actually quite fast, so I don't have to cache it. I'm going to disable this. And then we have the temperature as well coming in. And this is going to be our new source. And this layer we will potentially render with the particles. If you want, obviously we could add this on top. All right, so let's call this source out smoke extra. I'm going to copy it, and let's go back in. I want to change the source. Instead of this one, I'm going to use this new one. And here I also added a grid for the ground like this, so that the smoke collides with an SDF, because I like to turn this off completely. Under the advanced tab, collision, I like to turn this off completely and just use a volume-based collision. So if we do that, then we can't use the ground, and I just made a box, extruded it, and used it here. And I'm gonna lower the resolution because I need to explain something. So I'm gonna set it to 0.16, and if we hit play, we should see it coming in, but then the source will also disappear over time. It's colliding and just emitting and colliding and disappearing as well. And I'm gonna lower the directionality of this. So I'm gonna set it to 1, and I want to make the smoke rise more in this particular effects. And one thing that is very tricky to get, let's say here, and let's hit play. And right now we have this gas turbulence, but it's not affecting the smoke nicely. It's not kicking in. Even if I increase the scale to 2, it's not kicking in nicely. And the reason for that is because this influence threshold. So how this is working is basically deciding where there is density, it only applies turbulence there. And in many other apps like Maya or FumeFX, you have this noise where you just apply it and it works. So what is broken in Houdini? Why is this behaving differently? Well, it's because of this. If I set this to a negative value, you will see that now the noise is just gonna happen everywhere. Okay, so it's just gonna work. And this is gonna allow us to get much more magical effects, because the smoke it's not respecting physical properties in a very accurate way. And this is the type of shapes that you would want to get in your sim when you want to create something magical, like the wispy type effect. And this is very hard. If I change all kinds of controls to try to get that effect, it's going to be really hard to build that. So this influence is not really a great thing with this node. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to -1, and under the control setting, I'm going to set it to temperature and use this as a mask. I'm going to say 100%. I want to use this as a mask. So what that means is it's only going to happen when there is temperature in my sim. And that temperature is moving and fading. So even if this noise is strong, it can still give us interesting results. So probably we'll lower it a bit, maybe 1, and this is 1.5. And let's increase this to 3. And I'm gonna lower increase the cooling rate and also the dissipation of the smoke, which we will do here. So let me connect this one here, and I'm gonna connect this one with all the other nodes and increase the dissipation. And in fact, I like to use subtraction rate. So I'm gonna set this to 0.8, and it's gonna be much more aggressive now with the smoke, and I don't want this to live for a very long time. Just want it to be puffy. Yeah, something like that. You can see it's dissipating quickly. And let's go to the upper level. And when we duplicate nodes that are linked together in Houdini, the path for them will automatically get updated. So that's a very, very cool feature. And let's display this, the geometry, meaning, and now if we hit play, you will see the smoke coming in. And then we can also display the particles and set this to black, and we have all the layers we need. I probably wouldn't want to render this like a fully visible effects. It's just an extra mist that I would add as if the particle is disintegrating and generating smoke. Now, to make this a super high-res sim, we need two things. We need to increase the resolution, lower the resolution to maybe 0.06. It's gonna give us a lot more data to work with. And then under the smoke solver, I'm gonna change this advection to single project. This is gonna make the advection process much more accurate. And under the advection method, I'm gonna change this to BFECC and here to clamp. And this is gonna be a more accurate advection as well. So I don't need velocity for this one because I know it's going to be heavy. So I only need temperature and density for this one. And I'm going to control middle click here. I'm going to call this extra.v1. I really wanted to show this trick for the influence because I think it's very important to have. We can increase the number of sub-steps as well. That could help drastically with this with the quality of the sim, but it will make it a lot slower. So I'm gonna sim this. Want to reduce one of the noises, maybe this one to 3, this one to 0.3, and this one to 0.7. I don't want this to be too intense. And let's save it, and we'll continue in the next video. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in a bit.